Today I'm doing freeze-dried liquids. Now this is going to be an interesting test because the problem with liquids, they generally contain a lot of water. I'm concerned that when the water evaporates that it's going to take other things along with it. For example, like with vinegar, there's certain acids in the vinegar that gives vinegar its properties. I'm afraid that some of those acids may evaporate out. So what we're going to do, I'm going to put 100 grams in each of these containers. We're going to pre-freeze these containers and then put them into the freeze dryer. And I've written down underneath, so we've got white vinegar here, we've got Worcestershire sauce here, and soy sauce here, and we have some other liquids we're going to do. In each container we're going to put 100 grams of liquid. So here we go. I have 100 grams each of these trays. I'm going to go put this in the freezer now, and we'll start on the next tray. The next three contestants is vanilla, cooking wine, and lemon juice. Now the cooking wine and the vanilla both contain alcohol, and I'm a little bit concerned about these items because I'm pretty sure the alcohol is going to evaporate off, and so when we reconstitute it, that alcohol is no longer going to be in here. Now I don't know if the alcohol is going to make much of a difference in the taste because when these items are used as an ingredient and cooked, the alcohol is going to evaporate off anyway. So I'm hoping that when these are reconstituted, they'll be just fine. Okay, so we have vanilla, cooking wine, and lemon juice ready to go in the freezer. The next three items, apple juice, Capri Sun Pacific Cooler, and this is our own chicken stock. I'm a little bit concerned about the apple juice and the Capri Sun because of the quantity of sugars in them. I'm a little bit concerned about the chicken stock because of the quantity of fat that's probably in here. Now, if I would have let this, when we bottled this, if I would have let this, I can't remember if we let the pot settle and did we scrape off the fat. I'm pretty sure we scraped off most of the fat, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be some fat and oils in the chicken stock. So we have our apple juice, Capri Sun, chicken stock. These go in the freezer. The next items, we have milk, and if you're a freeze-dry owner, we pretty much know milk does a really good job in the freeze dryer. But I'm running out of liquids in my pantry. So we got milk, we have liquid smoke, and I guess this could be debated if this is a solid or liquid, but I'd say pudding is going to be a liquid. And it'll be interesting to see if the pudding will come back in its thick form or will it just go back to like a pourable liquid. We have our milk, we have our liquid smoke, we have our pudding, and this is just coconut cream pudding. So we have 12 liquids we're going to freeze dry and see how they come back as reconstituted. The first sample we have, and this is going to be the mystery sample, is white vinegar. So it weighs, this container now weighs absolutely nothing. There's nothing left, so I'm going to have to add 100 grams of water back into it. All that is left in here are a couple of little white specks, so it's going to be very interesting to see if anything is left of the white vinegar. But I do have a way to test to see if anything's going to happen. So I'm going to have to put 100 grams of liquid back in to the white vinegar. Next one is Worcestershire sauce. This weighs 21 grams, and so I have to add 79 grams of water back into it. Now the interesting thing about this Worcestershire sauce, if you take a look at the texture, I can see that somewhere during the freeze-dry cycle it went back into a liquid state and then it boiled. So you can see all the boiling action that was caused from freeze drying, but it is a total powder, and I want to make sure I don't get any powder on my hands so I can bring it back to where it once was. Next one is soy sauce. I only have 38 grams remaining, so I need to add 62 grams back to the soy sauce, and this too ended up boiling somehow. Now when I first put this into the freeze dryer, it was still a liquid state, and I think the reason why is there's so much salt in soy sauce that even at my freezer being so cold, it could not freeze the liquid because of the salt content. And if you look at the splatters along the walls of this container, you can see that this turned up boiling under a vacuum. So 62 grams of water will go back in to that. The next sample is vanilla, and out of the vanilla there's only 4 grams remaining. Now the vanilla had some of the alcohol in there, so I will add 96 grams of water back in, but I can't add the alcohol back in, so it will be interesting to see how this will taste without the alcohol content. Same thing here with the cooking wine. This is white cooking wine. There's only 4 grams left inside the container. We'll have to add 96 grams of water back in, but I'm also pretty sure that any alcohol that was in the cooking wine is gone and can't be restored. Next we have lemon juice. Kind of surprised at the color of the lemon juice. It's still kind of brittle. It's not sticky like I thought it might be. There's only 7 grams of lemon juice in our sample, and we'll have to add 93 grams of water to bring that back. The next sample is chicken stock. There's 12 grams remaining in our sample, and I was a little bit concerned about this to see if this might have too much fat or oils into it, but it seemed to dry pretty good. So I need to add 88 grams of water back into the chicken stock. Next one, Capri Sun. There's 8 grams remaining. This is the Pacific Cooler. This is sticky, and I kind of thought it would be because of the sugars inside. So we'll add 92 grams back into this to reconstitute it. Same thing with the apple juice. We got 12 grams of apple juice in this container, and it too is a little bit on the sticky side. We'll add 88 grams of water back into that one. Our last set of samples, we have the pudding at 21 grams. This actually came out pretty nice. I thought it'd be sticky, but it's actually quite dry. So that might be something to think about. But it's going to be, the consistency when it comes back is going to be interesting, whether it's going to be thick or it's going to be thin. Liquid smoke also did the same thing. It looked like at some time it boiled. Now this is the latest Harvest Right program to my freeze dryer, so I'm not sure if the program had anything to do with it, probably not. But the liquid smoke went down to 6 grams from 100 grams. Have to put 94 grams of water back into that. And the last one is milk. Milk has always been a really good one to do. It freeze dries really good. This is whole milk, 13 grams. We're going to put 87 grams of water back into that. The first sample I want to reconstitute is the white vinegar. I think this is going to be the most suspicious because there's no measurable amounts left over from the freeze drying process. I could not weigh anything that was less than a gram. So we're going to mix this up, and on many of these things I'm just going to have to taste them and compare them to the original, but I do have an idea with the white vinegar on seeing if it will come back or not. Like I said, I'm a little bit suspicious that the white vinegar is not going to come back. Okay, so I can't find hardly any taste in this vinegar, but there's a sure way of finding out, and that would be, this is baking soda, and if you were ever a kid, you know what's going to happen when baking soda and vinegar is mixed together. Well, take a look at that. There's no reaction with the baking soda. Had this been real vinegar, it would have foamed up and made quite a chemical reaction. So, white vinegar will not freeze dry. And I guess you could also say, well, why would you even want to freeze dry some of these liquids because of the shelf life? Now, some of these liquids do have a shelf life, some do not. Vinegar, I can't remember seeing an expiration date or use by date, but this is just kind of a fun little thing to do. But anyway, white vinegar did not work out. So these are all of our samples. Of course, there's one missing for the white vinegar. So I put the appropriate amount of water back into them, and we'll just have to kind of come back from time to time, mix them up, scrape the walls, make sure we get all the powder material back in with the liquid, and then we're going to be doing some taste testing. Okay, the first sample is our pudding. Now, this pudding is coconut cream, so there's cream on top, and down underneath is the coconut. Tastes really good. So this, I mean, you can see how nice and smooth this pudding is. Well, this is our freeze-dried pudding, and it took a long time to try to get the water back into this. I eventually had to put a whisk on a beater, and I had to beat this thing quite a bit. And it's still just a little bit lumpy, kind of like a tapioca. There's a few little lumps still in here, but it tastes just like pudding. Now, the cream and the coconut's already mixed up in here. That's exactly the same. So the pudding is a success. Here's our milk straight from the jug, from the fridge, and this is our freeze-dried milk. Milk, and maybe it's the issue with a lot of the dairies, but I had a hard time mixing the milk back with the water, and I had to use a whisk on a beater to get it back to normal. But that should be a problem. So, the original milk, nice and good. Compared to this, just the same. Now this is right out of the fridge, so this is a little bit cold. This is at room temperature, but the taste is exactly the same. And this is whole milk. So the milk is a winner. Next up is the chicken stock. This is homemade chicken stock that was out of our pantry. Now this definitely has a shelf life on it. I was concerned about the amount of fat that was in here, but this reconstituted. It freeze-dried really well. It came back really well. So this is something that I actually did this in April 21. So I know this will stay in my shelf for at least a year in my pantry. So there's a good chance that as this gets near the expiration date, I'm going to go ahead and freeze dry it. So let's take a taste comparison here. You can definitely taste the chicken there compared to this. No change whatsoever. In fact, you can actually still see just a little bit of, the little oil sheen that's on top of this liquid. So this is a thumbs up on chicken stock. This turned out to be very successful. Next up is Capri Sun. This is Pacific Cooler. Unfortunately, I did not have another Pacific Cooler. I do have an apple juice, and the apple juice is quite refreshing. The Pacific Cooler, that's pretty good too. This came back really well. Can't tell the difference. The only problem with the Capri Sun, and I think this would be the same with all juices, is it didn't freeze dry totally dry. It was still kind of tacky. So this is kind of one of those, I'm not quite sure what to do with this, because you can freeze dry it, but it's going to be probably hard to package, because it still kind of had that sticky texture to it. So jury is still out on the Capri Sun. And I have a feeling that these little things, do they even have an expire date here? It says May of 2022. So I'm not sure what to tell you about Capri Sun, but it's possible to do. Next up is apple juice. So this is the original apple juice. Very tasty. This is the freeze-dried apple juice. Just as good. No difference whatsoever about the apple juice. But like the Capri Sun, when it was freeze-dried, it still kind of had that sticky texture to it. So I think you could do apple juice really well. Now, the one thing about apple juice, this is definitely going to have a shelf life. So if you want to freeze apple juice, it's going to be possible to do it. I'm not sure if you'd have to line your trays with anything in particular, because I have a feeling that after you freeze dry it, it's going to be really hard to get it out of a tray. Because even in these containers that I used here, it was really hard to get it out. So apple juice is a good thing, but it's going to be difficult to package. We now have lemon juice. This freeze-dried really well. Now, there's a little bit of a difference in color. This is a little bit more yellow than this is, but that is definitely sour. Yeah. Okay, so we'll try this. Oh, that is disgusting. Yeah, they're evenly sour. So, yeah, thumbs up for lemon juice. Lemon juice also is definitely going to have a shelf life. Oh my gosh. So lemon juice would be a really good candidate for freeze drying. Imitation vanilla extract. So this is not the real vanilla. This is basically artificial, but hey, it's used in cooking. So this has a definite color to it, and if you compare this, the color is pretty much the same. Now if I smell this one, I can definitely smell vanilla. If I smell this, this really doesn't have much of a scent to this. You can smell the alcohol that's in this. The alcohol here is gone. Definite vanilla taste there. Having a hard time tasting the difference between it. It's probably because of all the lemon juice I just sucked down. That's different tasting. Okay, let me compare it with this stuff here. I know you shouldn't eat vanilla this way, but this is the only way I can compare it. Okay, so they're really similar. This is a little bit stronger, probably because of the alcohol that's in here. But this does not taste that bad compared. So I'd say vanilla extract is a good thing. it doesn't have the same aroma, but the taste is the same vanilla taste. Next up is cooking wine, and I was a little bit concerned about this because of the alcohol was going to be maybe lost. Okay, you know what that tastes like. Now this over here has like a stronger a stronger vinegar taste. This has a sweeter taste. Okay, so I'm not sure if I can explain this. This has a little bit of a sweeter taste than this. This has just a wee hint of like a vinegar taste. So, I'm not sure what to do with the recommendation with cooking wine. This also has a best by use date on here. So, I think I don't think it'd go wrong with freeze drying white wine. I don't think it could go wrong freeze drying cooking wine, but I think it's going to be better if it's fresh than freeze dried. But I think it's you could probably still go through and do it. Next up is liquid smoke. This is a big staple in our household here. We do a lot of cooking and barbecuing and such, and liquid smoke comes in very helpful. So I'm not sure how this is going to taste without being in food, but we're going to find out. So we have liquid smoke there. Pretty potent stuff there. Wow. And we have the freeze-dried liquid smoke. Oh my, by itself they're both disgusting, but they're the same. So yeah, that's going to take a while to get that taste out of my mouth. Liquid smoke, thumbs up, not a problem. And liquid smoke, like everything else, does have a best by date. So freeze drying it probably wouldn't be a problem. It came right back really easy. I always hate saying this word, Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire sauce, okay. That came back really easy. So we'll have to compare the taste though to the original, and I have a feeling it's going to be just fine. So we'll try this. Kind of quite the spicy taste to that. And this. Yeah. Lovely stuff. This definitely must have raisins or something in it. Maybe it's a vinegar, molasses hot. That's what I was tasting. So, no change whatsoever. Worcestershire sauce, same, good candidate for freeze drying. And I'm not sure if this requires refrigeration once opened or not, but I think it would be excellent for freeze drying. The last on our list is soy sauce. This is another big staple. We have a lot of Chinese food here. One other thing, a shout out to Kroger. You're a great company, and this soy sauce is actually gluten-free. This contains no wheat. Another thing that it says here, it does say refrigerate after opening. So this might be a good candidate. So we're going to put some down here. Yep, tastes like soy sauce, and it's very salty. This is a stuff that when I tried to freeze it, it would not freeze very well. It was still in a liquid state when I put it in the freeze dryer. And if you saw the first picture, it kind of boiled while it was freeze drying. So being so salty, that's a bit of a challenge. and this tastes just like soy sauce. So this is a thumbs up for soy sauce, especially this since it requires refrigeration. So everything we've done freeze dried very well except for the vinegar. So can't tell you what to do about vinegar, but vinegar probably has an indefinite shelf life. But anyway, this has been a fascinating little experiment. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you'd like to see other videos like this, please subscribe. Thank you for your time.